Welcome back, dear viewers, and now we are going to shed more light on the outcome of the quadrilateral meeting that took place yesterday in Islamabad with the attendance of Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati to discuss the escalations here in the Middle East and Israeli U.S. war on Iran. And we are joined by Dr. Yasser Tantawy, International Relations Expert. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So, Dr. Yasser, how do you see the outcome of yesterday's meeting in Islamabad with the attendance of the foreign ministers of Egypt, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey with the aim of holding talks to reach settlement to the war?
We can say the foreign ministers attended are already decision makers in the policy of the national level of each of their countries. And this is very rare in the Middle East culture to have such decision makers gather in one bin.
Yes.
Number two, the outcome is based on that. The outcome is expected to have a guidelines of the points that need to be discussed or resolved. So we cannot say there is an agreement about certain points, but at least they agreed to list the points and they agreed the concept or the constraints, plus or minus for each point, how margin they can move forward in discussions. And I think within that meeting, the next step will be to agree about certain consequence of sessions that will follow, that will take at least point by point to be resolved, or by group of points, subject to have details to be agreed. So technically, it will be a guideline. This is what we call it, a guiding meeting that will furnish the entire framework of operation that will follow in the coming sessions, including identification of who will participate in each meeting, the responsibilities, the rules of each party that will be engaged, in which to have a common understanding of expected outcome of each following meeting. So it is not, let's say, a final one, it's a startup. It's a kickoff meeting that will follow a planned meeting to follow.
So, Dr. Yasser, how does the meeting and Pakistan's hosting to this important meeting reflect the seriousness of the crisis and its effect on the whole world, not only the Middle East?
Technically, as we can say, the current state in Pakistan, because this is very close to Iran, so the delegation of Iranian can go there without any having risk of being at air or something like that. In addition to that, Pakistan is extremely powerful country with its nuclear power and so on. So nobody will take the risk to attack Pakistan like from Israeli side or something like that. It will not be a joke with them. In addition to that, we need to remember Pakistan is already has a very strong alliance with both of China and looking for Russia in that. So technically, there is a power balance. Egypt is having very power as the cornerstone of stability and peace in the region, with its influence in all parties, especially the Iranian party and the Arab parties, in addition to, let's say, stable relations with the U.S. and conventional talks with Israel and so on. Saudi Arabia, of course, is responsible of managing and being the oversight governing body with the GCC countries, so its word will be spoken and heard properly. And finally, of course, Turkey. Turkey, in addition to be Islamic, but it's also a member of NATO, and that have very strong relations with both the U.S. and Israel. So technically, there is a power balance here, we can say. So technically, it was a very successful gathering. In addition to that, we find that it is more than an executive meeting, not just a show-up or press meetings. They didn't go for press, they didn't go for talks, they didn't go for side talks, for they go for to do something with a planned agenda preset already. So this is a very nice power balance. We can see that there is absence a little bit from other international authorities, which is understood why, because there is no rule there for that, because they need executive, while international authorities will not have any power in that. And this is a closed talks. That means there are lots of, we cannot say hidden agendas, but let's say classified points should be agreed first before having other meetings.
So, sir, also, how do you assess the diplomatic efforts exerted so far to reduce tension in the region?
It's huge. It's abnormal effort. It's very stressful, and I think nobody can sustain that, and which rely on the stability of the nations engaged. If we can see the four parties engaged are having very stable political proceedings and steps. So as we can say, rather Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan are having a very stable political anthem and political system in place in international discussions. So the four are grabbing the four countries together. That means that the effort needed to be done and the effort that is already done is more than abnormal. Because there are lots, hundreds of points. Let's forget about the 15 points what U.S. mentioned, but the 15 points discussed versus more than another 15 points from the counterparty from the Iranian side to grab everything together and to try to margin the gap between both sides. This is a huge effort need to be assessed. That means there are lots of hundreds of activities need to be done and performed.
So, sir, also now we saw over the weekend protests in the United States against policies, the U.S. President policies. So do you expect the American citizens can put pressure on U.S. President Donald Trump?
They can, but unfortunately not now. They can after they can feel there is blood engaged. When they start losing lives, that could be the tackling issue. So until now, if you see the rates, we need to remember that U.S. is 100 million already of population. So a couple of millions from political perspective, let's say from the White House current administration perspective, has no value, especially with the linguistic behavior of the current administration. So I think they are currently ignoring all of that. They try to reach a very quick win. For now, that's why he was speaking about hard. I was speaking that Iranian gave them 20 oil tankers for free, blah, blah, blah. All of that is just to try to furnish the ground for a quick win. But the U.S. will be completely against that once we start to feel that there is blood engaged or they are losing lives. So now, because that will opposing all Americans, so now he's opposing few Americans or some parties or some political direction back in the state. But once there is losses and once the Americans start feeling that that will be a real war, because until now it is not a real war. It is only bomb raids and so on, some attacks here and there, but there is no ground combat, let's say. So technically, if that will happen, or they will sense that it will happen, it will be catastrophic impact on the American policy. And I think the Republican Party will lose the ground for the next, from my expectation, up to 16 years that follow.
So, Dr. Yasser, also, we saw that the Houthis joined the war yesterday. How do you see the repercussions of this move?
It was expected, but this is a negotiation point. So technically, one of the points that U.S. administration requested is that Iran should abandon all of these parties engaged to Iranian, rather Hezbollah, Houthi, or whatever it is. So now what's happening, Iranians are using that to ignite some troubles in which to be a winning point. They will say, okay, we'll drop them. And that will happen because if you remember 2 years ago or last year, something like that, already Iran dropped Houthi for a few weeks. Okay, so they are used to that, and Houthi are used to that. They don't have any problem in that. So technically, it will be a political game. Iranians are using it like a point of discussion in which they could say, yes, we will agree for that. This is a point that the U.S., so they will make the U.S. administration happy. So, and this is the quickest win, by the way, to say we will abandon Houthi, Hezbollah, and so on, which is they are doing in the ground now, by the way.
So, Dr. Yasser, you talked about the 15-point action list that were presented by President Donald Trump and delivered through Pakistan as a framework for a possible peace deal, which includes the reopening of Strait of Hormuz, the key shipping lanes out of the Middle East, crucial for the globe's oil supply. So, if you would like to shed more light on that issue, and do you expect that there could be an agreement to be reached soon?
I think there will be an agreement to reach because what we are seeing, Hormuz Strait is officially not closed. It is controlled, but not closed.
Yes.
And they passed already huge oil tankers, which is the Pakistani flag, just an example, yesterday, as a gift to be how far they are here. So technically, Iranians are showing nothing is happening. It's already opened. But they are forbidding countries which is against them, some, let's say, in combat or in action against them, which is normally in any military action. So technically, what Iranians are very professional in extremely how to exhaust negotiators. And what they are doing is they escalated in a way in which they could have lots of control points. So whatever they are giving a point, it was already there before war. So you don't understand why should you have war if you want homes constrained open. So it was open before. So why you do that? If you want to oil, so oil is there. Why you don't just sell it? So it's a power compensation, and I think Iranian is using very long-term exhausting process, and the Iranians are well known on that. If you remember the negotiation of Iranian parties with lots of other cases, like when they arrest some UK Marines back in the Gulf area a few years ago, it was the same. They exhaust everyone in negotiation to reach their own benefit. So technically, in negotiations, I believe on personal level that Iranian could have more success points because all of the points of discussion from Trump administration, if you analyze it properly, it doesn't exist.
Yes, and Dr. Yasser, can you shed more light on the humanitarian aspect of this war, and how can the international organizations react to this?
With all respect, we don't see international organization reactions. It's all on national level. Each country is trying to do its best to safeguard. But unfortunately, what we are seeing from international, let's say, organization is weird a little bit. So technically, it's reminds us it's a big discussion, big talks, but without any result. Lots of noise without food, let's say. So technically, each country in each perspective is doing some collaborative effort in which to ease the humanitarian effort, because we have two levels of humanitarian efforts in the impacted area like in Iran, in Lebanon, in Gaza, in West Bank, and so on. And we need not to drop also the other country which is massively impacted, like Sudan, Yemen, and so on, where GCC, Egypt, and so on is more engaged in the Iranian conflict. So that means the balance to, let's say, to do some effort back in Sudan, Yemen, and so is reduced already. We need to be honest in that. But the problem is the other countries, because of the damage that happened to the entire supply chain worldwide due to that increase in oil cost, the fertilizers impact, because the catastrophic is not the oil. The catastrophic issue impact would be the fertilizers coming out of the GCC. This is a horrible impact on the agriculture environment worldwide. Let's forget about the oil. With all respect, the fertilizers is the core threat which everybody is scared about it, by the way.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Yasser Tantawy, international relations expert. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And Foreign Minister Badr Abdel-Ati in Islamabad attended the meetings of the quadrilateral ministerial meeting to discuss escalating military developments in the region and efforts to de-escalate tensions. Here is the full story.
Foreign Minister Badr Abdel-Ati is in Islamabad taking part in a high-level quartet ministerial meeting bringing together foreign ministers from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Turkey. The meeting comes at a critical moment as military tensions continue to rise across the region. With fears of further escalation growing, the talks aim to coordinate diplomatic efforts and explore pathways to calm the situation before it spirals further. Egypt's participation reflects its ongoing commitment to regional stability and its role as a key mediator in times of crisis. Cairo has consistently advocated for political solutions and dialogue over military confrontation. During the meeting, ministers are expected to exchange assessments of the current developments while also discussing mechanisms to reduce tensions, prevent further military escalation and protect regional security. Analysts say the significance of this meeting lies not only in its timing but also in the diversity of its participants, bridging Asia and the Middle East. The presence of influential regional actors underscores a shared concern over the consequences of continued instability. As the situation remains fluid, all eyes are on whether such diplomatic efforts can deliver tangible results. For now, the message from Islamabad is clear: dialogue remains the only viable path forward.